Alright, hello class. My name is Mr. Getsky and I'm here to teach you guys how to use SketchUp for 3D modeling applications. Today's objectives, very simple. We're going to introduce you guys to SketchUp, find out where it's actually located on the web. You can access this obviously free of charge using your Chromebooks. And probably going to want to use your school email address and Google account when you are signing up for your free account. After that, we're going to actually go in and we're going to teach you how to navigate using the orbit, the pan, and the zoom tools. And we're going to show you guys some shortcuts on those for using a mouse. So let's go ahead and jump on in and take a look. So here, when you go to do a simple Google search or just type in sketchup.com, this is the website that you see here. Okay. So at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to come up here to products, and we're going to be using SketchUp Free. Now there is a professional paid version of this, but the SketchUp Free web app is great for what we're going to end up using. And it's something that I've been using since like 2004, 2005. So it's been around a long time, and it's gone through many different owners. I know Google used to have it at some point, but now a company called Trimble has it. So anyways, once we go to the free version here, we're going to go ahead and click on Start Modeling. And with that, it's going to ask you to log in with an account. Now, the good news is there is very little typing that we're going to have to end up doing. So we're just going to come here to where it says Sign in with Google. And if you're using a Chromebook, so you're already signed in with your school Gmail account. So this is going to be making it very simple here. I'm just going to go ahead and select my school email. And at that point in time, we're going to get a loading screen. I'm not using Google Chrome on my browser, so that's why it's giving me this warning message. It shouldn't give you for that. And as you can see here, I have a previous model that I'm making for the in-person students. So this is super handy even outside of school. So I hope you guys learn how to do this and actually take advantage of it with a lot of different applications. So anyways, for this application, we're just going to go ahead and create new. And we're going to go down here to Simple Template, feet and inches. Okay, and this is going to pop up. This is your go-to navigation for everything SketchUp. So you're going to be seeing a lot of this particular screen when you are going to create something new. Okay, so let me we're gonna use this particular person to just kind of show you the quick and dirty way to navigate. But number one thing I have to teach you right off the bat is that this is a 3D modeling program. It's not pen and paper. You're not drawing 2D. So if we get into some math terminology here, if you were going to graph something out in math and it was 2D, you would have two axes, whatever that may end up being called. So you'd have an x-axis and a y-axis, and you would graph out or plot out points based off of x coordinates and y coordinates. Okay? Because we're in three-dimensional space, we have three axes. So we have an x-axis, which is indicated by a red line, a y-axis, which is a green line here, and then we have a z-axis, which is going to be a blue line. So as you can see on the screen, red, green, and blue. That's kind of how we're gonna use those lines to help us key up and to be able to draw three-dimensional. Okay. Now it's going to be also equally important that we are learning how to move around in this space, and it's very difficult because we have a 2D monitor or a 2D screen, and we're trying to look at it three-dimensional. So at points and times, which I'll show you in the future here, when we actually start drawing, there's going to be some optical illusions where it might not look right, but you have to trust that the red, green, and blue line are kind of your waypoints. Use those to help you orientate yourself in the software. Okay, so there's obviously a lot of stuff here on the side, which we're going to get to learning here, and some stuff over here on the right, and some stuff on the bottom. Don't worry about that right now. What I want you to concentrate on is this part right down here. Okay, so if I left click on this, it's going to give me 5 different options. Okay, and these are your main ways to navigate 3D space in SketchUp. So the first way is probably the most useful one that you're going to be taking out of your back pocket a lot in order to move around, and it's called the Orbit tool. Okay, so I'm going to left click on Orbit tool, and my cursor changes from an arrow to this icon. So anytime you see this particular icon, just know that you are you're using the Orbit navigation function tool. So if I want to orbit around this particular model of a lady that's on the screen, all I'm going to do is click and then move my mouse left or right and just let up. And as you can see here, I'm orbiting around. The red, green, and blue lines are rotating around. Now, it doesn't look like I'm orbiting because this person keeps shifting and looking at me in the same direction. That's just the way that this particular model is set up, okay? But that's how I would end up orbiting, kind of like a satellite around the planet. In this case, my camera is orbiting around this object, okay? So that's orbit. I come on here again, and I'm going to click on this hand, and this is the pan tool. Okay, not like a pan you would find in the kitchen, but pan is a little bit different than orbit in that when I left click and move left to right, I'm not rotating around the object. Instead, I'm just shifting things left to right. Almost imagine this as if it was a piece of paper on a table and you were moving it left to right, right? You're not actually going under the paper, or you're not twisting the paper in 3D space, but you're just sliding it back and forth. And that's all the pan tool ends up doing in this case. Okay? So then we have our magnifying glass here, and that is the symbol for zoom. Okay, in zoom I would click holding it and then going up zooms in, and if I move it down it zooms out. Okay, and I can do this at any point in time on the screen. Okay, so the zoom tool, when you click on it, just goes in and out whether you're going up or down. Okay, it doesn't work left or right, only works up or down. Okay, now if I want to zoom in on a particular part of this person, it's not going to let me, so I would then have to use my pan tool to center that object better on my screen, and then using this tool I can shift and move things around. So that's how you would use these tools in conjunction with one another. And then obviously I can orbit around this person, panning it and zooming out. So those are kind of the more simple ways of doing things here. Let me show you some shortcuts that actually make life a lot easier for you if you get in the habit of using these more than clicking on the actual menu navigation bar on the side. Okay, it's very important that these are mostly going to work with a three button mouse. If you don't have a 3-button mouse, I would highly recommend getting one for this application. You can do it with a trackpad on your Chromebook, but it's so infinitely better and easier when you actually have a mouse. Okay, specifically a 3-button mouse, which is just a left click, a right click, and a scroll wheel. So for instance, if I'm wanting to move around here and I don't necessarily want to click on this, if I just push in the scroll wheel as if it were a button, it's kind of a secret hidden third button on your mouse. If I push in the scroll wheel, you can see that my orbit tool comes up, and now I can orbit around my object every time I push in my scroll wheel. Okay, so that's the fast and easy way to navigate using the orbit tool, is pushing in my scroll wheel. Okay, the next tool that we have is our pan tool. So if I push in the scroll wheel button and then push down on the left click at the same time, that gives me my pan tool. Okay, so now I can shift left to right by pushing in scroll wheel, then pushing down my left mouse button. Okay. Consequently, there's also a keyboard shortcut for this. If I push down on my scroll wheel and then push down Shift key, I can do that as well. Okay, so I can hold down the shift key, and then all I have to do is push in the scroll wheel, and that allows me to pan. Okay, finally zoom. Zoom is probably the easiest, and there's a little bit extra that zoom gives you on a three button mouse. So if I just scroll up, it zooms in. If I scroll down, it zooms out. So super fast, easy way to zoom in and out. What's beneficial to using your mouse for the scroll wheel for zooming is, unlike this button here, where it only zooms in at the center of the screen and I can't change that, with my mouse wheel I can zoom in wherever my cursor is currently pointing to. So if there's a particular spot on my model and it's not in the center, I can very quickly, easily come in here, scroll wheel it, click on my middle mouse button, left click to pan, and then middle mouse button, and I can orbit. Okay. Finally, here's kind of a get out of jail free card. If you ever find yourself in a position in SketchUp where you don't know where you got to that point, or you zoomed in and now you're kind of lost, what I want you to do is come back over here and click on this Zoom Extends button. Okay, it's a magnifying glass with 3 arrows pointing out. When you click on this, what happens is it centers your model on your screen, and it zooms out just enough to be able to fit mostly everything in your screen. So again, if you ever find yourself that you're zoomed in so far and you're just like, oh my goodness, where am I? I'm moving things around and I can't see it, and it won't let you zoom out through the scroll wheel. Click on that Zoom Extends, bam, you're back out where you can go, and hopefully you can get caught up to where you need to know where you're at. Okay, so real quick recap, what did we talk about? Well, we talked about our 3 axis lines, X, Y, and Z being red, green, and blue for 3D space. We talked about the orbit tool, we talked about the pan tool, and we talked about the zoom tool, and then obviously the corresponding shortcuts on a 3-button mouse. So what the best thing to do is to be able to learn this is just to get into the program and do what I was just doing in the video, just going in, clicking on the buttons, moving it around, seeing how to navigate things for yourself. The more you practice this, the easier it becomes. It's almost second nature now for me when trying to move around and navigate through things when designing models. Alright, we'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks so much for tuning in.